Welcome to Chez, Fleur podcast. We are a group of people that love small business, love talking about our business, love being in business, and we're here to share with you all the adventures we're having. So if you own a business, welcome. If you are just interested in what happens in small business and in retail, we welcome you as well. If you have been with us from the beginning, welcome back. And if you're new to our podcast, we're so glad to have you with us. My guest today is Bob Negen, and he has a business that trains small business. Very interesting. And he's going to talk to us about his journey with small business from his beginnings in a retail store and to where he is now. So, Bob, when you were in small business retail, you tell me that you sold fun.
I sold fun. Well, the product that we sold originally, so to quickly back up, in 1981, I was 23. I had just graduated from college, and I loved flying kites. And I didn't want to get a real job, and I loved flying kites, so I thought I'd open a kite store because how hard can it be to run a store? And so the product that I sold was kites. But then one day I realized that people weren't buying kites, they were buying fun, right? What's a kite? It's a piece of cloth being held in the air by string. And when I realized that what I was really selling was fun, that allowed me to, what we call expand our merchandise mix. We started selling toys and games. And that's really what the Mackinac Kite Company became, was, a toy store that sold kites and games, and we created yo-yo booms, but our tagline was where fun begins.
And so with this kite business, you started with events. So that's where you got your first, if I'm correct, your first taste of events, and you had a big kite festival.
Oh, yeah, we had several big kite festivals. We started, our first big kite festival was about year 5, and it was the Mackinac City Kite Festival, and, we did it at an old airport in Mackinac City. We put up a great big, Steve and I didn't play small. And then when we opened our second store in Grand Haven, we started another kite festival, which was actually a competition, a stunt kite competition that grew into one of the world's premier kite competitions. And for a while, I was announcer I was the announcer for the World Cup, which was the world championship for stunt kite flying. It was in Bristol, England. So, yeah, Janet, I love an event. I love a big event. I love a big blowout event. It's just a great way for, especially for your listeners who are retailers, events, promotions and special events are a real great way for you to be different, to stand out. It's a real competitive advantage. So if you're a retailer, think about this. To do cool, fun, interesting promotions your ability to do those it's a distinct competitive advantage. An online retailer can't do an in-store event. Big brands don't, because they don't want to deal with the hassle. So, it's a real way for you to stand out.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And it's a lot of fun, and it's a nice way to be a little more social with your customers instead of just during that transaction.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying it's a good way to interact with your customers and get to know them a little better.
100%. You get the opportunity to meet and touch, and not necessarily touch, but really be present with people. One of the things that I know about small businesses, people want that human dynamic. They want to buy from somebody they know and like. And yes, people point to, the growth of e-commerce and Amazon and all of those things. But there's a difference between people buying something and people, shopping. And so when people buy things from Amazon, people shop in a store, they want the experience. And this is one of the reasons that Susan and I are so bullish on the future of independent retail, because, if somebody comes into East City Flower Shop, they talk to a human being. They get to smell the roses, so to speak. They get that great experience that they don't get online when they buy their flowers, from a wire service. So, the local independent retailers who do it right are going to absolutely thrive.
Yeah. So you're not selling kites anymore. You have moved on to another business, which this business helps all us small retailers be better retailers. Tell us how that came about.
Sure. So for 19 years, I started the Mackinac Kite Company, and in year one, I hired my youngest brother, Steve, and we grew that business together. But in 1999, I sold him my share of the company. It was just time, right? I'm the older brother, majority stockholder. I was the boss, and he wanted a chance to run it, and good for him. He's still doing it very, very successfully. But so he came to me and said, "Hey, you want to sell your share of the company?" And one of the things that happened was that, when Susan came to work for us at the Mackinac Kite Company, she brought a whole skill set to our entrepreneurial energy. And when we took her professional retail skill set, the things that she had learned in the department store world, and combined them with the things that we knew about running a small entrepreneurial retail business, that boy, oh boy, there was some real magic there. And I wanted to share that. And so when Steve said, "Hey, you want to sell your share of the company?" It literally took me less than 2 hours. We were on a road trip, and we hadn't even made it from Grand Haven to Cadillac, Michigan, before I looked over at Susan and I said, "Hey, I'm going to sell it." And I asked her if she would come along for that ride, and she did. And so here we are, 24 years later. And, WhizBang Retail Training, our mission is to help independent retailers, primarily brick and mortar, in small to mid-size local independent brick and mortar retailers.
And you've got a program all laid out that will answer all our questions even before we ask them, which is awesome.
Yeah, 100%. Well, the thing is that it's all about skills. People get people open their store typically because they have a passion for a product or a service, or they have a hobby. Our good friend Hope Birch loved horses, so she opened a tack shop. I love kites, so I opened a kite store. You probably love flowers, so you open a flower shop. But the thing that people don't realize until they've been in it for a little while is your passion for your product won't make you profitable. And there comes a moment when you have to shift from saying, "I love kites," to, "Holy cow, I better do something here," because my love for kites it's not putting burgers on the bar and beers on the bar. So you have to get serious about running a business. And that's what it's all about. It's all about, there's that moment, I call it the danger zone, where you have to make a decision. You have to say, okay, either I'm going to become a victim and start blaming everybody for the fact that I'm not successful, or I'm going to get serious about this and I'm going to learn how to be a great retailer. And that's what Steve and I did. We got serious. We were getting better and better and better. We met Susan, and that just really, it hockey sticked our growth. So, and that's why we love what we do. Janet, you're an example of, somebody who was smart, already had a successful business, but then, we come into contact with each other, and you invest in the products and programs. And next thing you know, you're at a different level of success. And, one of the things, and I think you were alluding to this, Our flagship product is called the Retail Mastery System. And if you're an independent retailer, this is the most comprehensive training program anywhere. To your point that you made earlier, you don't know what you don't know. We didn't know what we didn't know until Susan taught us a lot of the things that we didn't know. But every time you develop a new skill, every time you read a new book, every time you listen to a podcast like this, you get a little smarter, a little wiser, a little better, and your business becomes better. And when your business becomes better, your life becomes better. I mean, it's a virtuous cycle. Susan coined, she calls it the upward spiral of prosperity. And, and that's what we're all about here at WhizBang Training, is the upward spiral of prosperity.
So you mentioned every book that you read, which is is going to lead me into my next question. You are a voracious reader and you're very active journaling, I believe at least twice a day, if I remember correctly.
Always, but almost always. Yeah.
So share with us how these habits have helped you in your business growth.
100%. So journaling is, the late great Jim Rohn had a great quote, and I'm going to mangle it, I'm sure, but basically he said, if you live a life worth living, it's worth recording. But so what journaling does is it forces me to reflect on what's happening. And it also then gives me the opportunity to learn from what I'm doing. By slowing down and reflecting, I'm learning from myself. So slowing down is really, really important. So look, may I tell you a little bit, or your listeners a little bit about my journaling practice?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I have been journaling daily since 1997, and I still have all of my journals. And somewhere around, I don't know, year 5 or 10, I started journaling twice a day. So I've been doing this a long time, and I really kind of have what works for me dialed in. And in the mornings, often there's things going on that I'm thinking about, and just getting it out of my brain and onto the paper frees my brain up, right? I'm not ruminating about it through the day. So I can start my day basically with a clear head. The other thing that I do in the mornings is I do a gratitude exercise. And, sometimes I just do a couple things. Sometimes I'll become very grateful, and I'll journal for a couple of pages. But recently, I started changing my gratitude practice a little bit. And so now what I do is I just don't go with a stream of consciousness. I'm grateful for Susan. I'm grateful for the boys. I'm grateful for our team, blah, 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 blah. Grateful that the coffee tastes great. Now I slow down even more, and I reflect on, if I'm grateful for this, what can I do to turn that gratitude into some sort of action? So, for instance, this morning it was cold. And in the winter, I live in Michigan, you live in Toronto or Peterborough, but close enough. It's cold in the winter. So in the winter, I often am grateful for a warm house. So it's nice to be grateful for a warm house, but then if you extend it, you say, okay, I'm grateful for a warm house. How can I turn that gratitude into action? And that gratitude into action is to, for me, this morning was, we have a lot of blankets that never get used. We have some coats from our boys. They're gone. They don't fit anymore. I can give them to someone. So the extension of the gratitude into action, I think, makes that gratitude more real, and it has a bigger impact on the world. And then the third thing that or the other thing that I do in the morning is I sort of think about my intentions. So it could be an intention for the day. It could be an intention for the long term. It could be an intention for the rest of my life. But what do I want? Because when I start telling myself what I want and I repeat it often enough, it becomes real in my brain. And often for the day, the things that I want are what I call my 3 Ps. When, especially like Mondays and Wednesdays, we have a lot of meetings on Mondays and Wednesdays. And I'm not a good meeting guy. And so my 3 Ps are, I want to be present, I want to be patient, and I want to be positive. And so, but you see that whole idea of, by the time I'm done journaling in the morning, my day is set. Compare that to a lot of people get up, they're frazzled, they have 1,000 things rolling around in their head, and so their day starts incorrectly. My journaling habit allows me to start my day correctly. Now, at the end of the day, I journal and I look for the things that went right. So that forces me to sort of go back. And when I started this practice, I was so frustrated, I didn't have a very good day. But when you go back and look at your day, there are always moments to be grateful for. You always have wins throughout the day. So I'm bookending my day with positive. I'm training my brain to be happy. I'm training my brain to be grateful. And Susan and I were listening to a podcast recently on This American Life, and the guy was talking about finding what was it? Moments of delight. And so I'm trying to get back into the habit of what were those delightful moments in my day. So yes, my journaling practice, my habit, is one of the most powerful things that I do, because it really keeps me grounded. It doesn't let those negative stories grow. It's just, if you're an entrepreneur, your life is busy, things go wrong all the time. There's lots of stressors that are an inevitable part of your life as a business. But just having habits and routines that keep you grounded and keep you moving forward, it's just really, it's a better way to live as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, the whole grounding is the common theme through all of that. And it's so true that if you can see the good day after day after day.
I have a meditation habit, and that has to do with mindfulness. I strongly recommend the 10% Happier app if you want to start meditating and want to start to have a mindfulness practice. Because as an entrepreneur, what are you trying to do? You have to control your brain. And so when you create a mindfulness practice, what you're doing is you're creating a gap between the thing that happens and how you react to the thing that happens. And, when you create that gap is where you get to choose how you're going to react. And it just makes, again, it's one of those practices, one of those habits that really starts to pay off in your entrepreneurial life.
Very true. Very true. With your building WhizBang and all the training programs that you have, you have marketing programs, you have programs that teach you how to do an event, you have a mastermind, you have all sorts of programs. Which one is your favorite? I know it's like choosing a child, but you must have one of those programs that you...
It's not like choosing a child. My favorite program is the Platinum Mastermind group. And Janet, you were a charter member of that group, but I'm a long, quick start, to use Colby language. I mean, I love to live in the world of ideas. And 3 times a year, Susan and I get together with 20 of the smartest retailers we know, and we brainstorm. I learn so much from the people in that group. Like, I absolutely love our Retail Success Summit. It's pretty gratifying to walk into an auditorium filled with people who came to your event. I mean, it's really cool. But at the end of the day, although I love the energy, and Susan and I love doing that, at the end of the day, we're teaching. And what a mastermind does is I learn more than I teach when I get into those situations. So that's hands down my favorite program that we offer here at WhizBang Training.
Well, it certainly is an excellent think tank, and a little what's the word I want? Like a cocoon that grows ideas. And the ideas that you get even from people that aren't in your industry, that help you grow in your own industry. A mastermind really is a very special thing. So I understand why that is your favorite.
Well, yes. And, to your point, though, the thing that I love is, I love the fact that it's all different industries. And I love the fact that there are Canadians and Americans. And now we have a member for the last 4 years from the UK. We've had members from Mexico. The diversity of thoughts that comes from different industries, different age groups, different perspectives, different geographies. It's what makes the experience rich. There's so much to learn from other people.
Yes, yes. Whether it, like we said, whether it's your industry or not, there are some great ideas right across the board. Well, Bob, I could talk to you all day. I know that you're busy and you've got a lot on the go. So I really appreciate you taking time to be with us today. And we always will. You're always welcome. Anytime you want to come back, you are always welcome.
I am here for you. I am here for your listeners. If I can help you and your listeners, let us know.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. We like to close out each segment with some quick questions so that we just get to know a little bit more about you. So if you're willing to do that, I've got some questions for you.
All right, give them to me.
Now, there's a little bit of Canadian content here, just so I
won't. Well, I love Canada, and I love Canadians. So
yes,
I get it right.
Okay, hockey or lacrosse?
Oh, basketball. No, I'll have to say lacrosse.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because Peterborough does have an award-winning lacrosse team.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction.
Pizza or tacos?
Tacos.
Beer or wine?
Wine.
Tux or sports jacket?
Sports jacket.
Right on. Bob, thank you. Thank you again for taking time to be with us.
I'm sorry I missed that first question.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I was thanking you for being with us again. And you didn't miss the first, you mean the hockey or lacrosse?
Yeah,
you didn't miss that.
All right.
Anyway, always good to see you, Bob. If you are joining us on Chez, Fleur podcast, we will be back next week. Our guest is going to be Susan Negen from the WhizBang Group, and she has got a great program that their group is launching, and we're going to talk to her about that. And if you're interested in small business, welcome. If you have a small business and want to hear more, we have some great guests coming up. And if you just love hearing about the entrepreneurial spirit, we are the place to be. So if you're joining us for the first time, thank you for joining us. If you're back again, we appreciate seeing you, and we look forward to seeing you next week. See you soon. Bye.